All right, guys, we're back. Hope you guys are having a good long Memorial Day weekend. Had a lot of requests to go over Gunner here. It's my second Fox body build from the ground up. It's an 88 hatchback. Was a 4-cylinder car. Originally, and she was in an almond color. I'm going to show you what she looks like now. So yeah, I think I purchased this car 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. Original 4-cylinder car. She was the almond color, like I said, and just decided to completely restore the car. I think I finished it around 2011 or 2012. The color code is actually, guys, don't give me too much hell for this, but it's actually a GM color. It's 805K is the paint code. Comes off of a 2003 model year GM paint code. So it's you know, it's a gunmetal metallic. I happen to love it. The hood, we'll just go over some of the exterior first. The hood is a Boss Pro Cowl. I don't think Boss is around anymore. They're no longer in business, but these hoods were really good hoods. It's hard to tell from here, but the cowl is actually wider towards the rear. If you can see, it gives you about an inch on either side of the actual cowl vent grill, and it's to accommodate, you know, the larger inch Windsor motors, you know, with EFI plumbing and whatnot. So the center of the hood is actually painted a Ford tuxedo black, you know, with metallic. I think that's probably around a 2015 color code. 2014, 2016, somewhere in there, in that year range. Headlights are obviously the smoked headlights. I just happen to like the smoked look myself, but that's why I decided to go with those. The wheels are Autohan. They're the DS 08s, 18 by 8.5 in the front and 18 by 9.5 in the rear. The rears have a Mickey Thompson SS street tire, 285 40 18, both sides obviously, and then the fronts are a 255 35 18. And as you can see, I think I did a video previously on these wheels, but just to give you a closer look, but they tuck in the wheel, you know, the wheel wells pretty nicely. The front spindle and hub setup is actually a SN95, the 9495 spindles. And for now, guys, stock style 96, or excuse me, 9495 spindles and hubs with V6/GT rotors and calipers. So that's going to be upgraded here very soon. I'm going to go to Cobra brakes front and rear, so have all the stuff to do it. I'm sure you guys have seen my other video, the parts unboxing. The rears obviously are going to have Cobra brakes as well. They're just drums right now. As far as what gives the car the stance that it has, the fronts are the old Ford Racing or you know, Ford Motorsport. I think they're the B or C springs. I can't remember which ones now. It's been so long. In the front, and just a stock style, like a BBK blue spring in the back, the 2501s, I think. And so that's what gives it the stance. I needed to have it have a little bit of a rake in the back. I know it sits a little high, but to clear the 18-inch tires, you know, from rubbing. But the car hooks, guys, really does. We'll do a walk around here. The quarter windows were fully restored. They're not the best restoration job, but they'll do for now. I have a spare set that I'm probably going to send off for restoration, just to, you know, finish off the look the way it needs to be. But the tint is, I can't remember the percentage. It's either 25 or 30 Matacoat nano ceramic tint. So, you know, it does a pretty good job in the summertime, especially now that we're approaching summer very closely now. Tail lights are the Depot stock tinted LX tail lights. Come with the housings and everything. I think it's a pretty good look. Decided to keep the stock style wing spoiler. I know there's a couple variations out there, the Steedas and whatnot, but you know, I tend to like the stock look myself. Going back around. And again, you know, it's not the absolute best paint job in the world, but you know, it turned out nicely when it did. I wish I had a little more clear on it, but other than that, you know, it looks pretty nice up close. One thing you guys probably got a glimpse at earlier, my Cal Gauge Concepts Cal Vent Grill. I have water temp on the left and oil pressure on the right, and they are the Autometer Sport Comp 2s, LED backlit. I've always liked the LED backlit gauges myself, that line of gauges they have, so that's why I chose to use them. Let's go to the inside, show you what she's got. So all black interior. Once again, this car had the matching tan interior when I first got it. So with a combination of dyeing techniques on the dash and other various parts of the interior, I think the console, some steering column parts, it turned out okay. The seats, I actually purchased probably a year or two ago. They're factory seats that have been recovered with, I think, the Acme or the TMI foam and covering. A gentleman probably about an hour from me had them for sale, and he had just had the restoration on the seats done probably a few weeks earlier, and he ended up selling his car, so I took him off his hand, or you know, off his hands. But I think that's the later gen with the headrest. I want to say that's probably the 91 up, or 90 to 93 headrests, but you get the idea. Original power door panels though, and armrests and whatnot, those haven't been dyed. The cluster, the driver cluster, I put all the LED backlit lights in the cluster, so it lights up bright at night. But other than that, guys, pretty stock black ACC carpet. One thing I did do under the carpeting, guys, I put a layer of the kill mat. I think it's the 80 mil kill mat on the floorboards, going up to where the floorboards meet the firewall and all the way to the hatch area, and it really dampens the sound. You know, I mean, it's still pretty violent, which, you know, is pretty cool, but it definitely dampens a lot of it on the inside. So highly recommend it if you guys are at that stage in your project. Seat belts, I think, were out of a 93. They were in mint condition, so I grabbed those. So yeah, there's the interior, guys. Let's take a look at the business under the hood. So what I decided to do with this car at the time was to build a Windsor stroker motor, which is exactly what this has. So starting from the ground up, it starts with an 89 block, 89 351 block, scat, cast 9000, 4-inch stroke crank, obviously balanced to 28 ounces, and the balancing was done really, really well, down to 1/10 of a gram, front and back, final out. So the rods are scat I-beam connecting rods with ARP 2000 rod bolts. The pistons are Probe Industry pistons, I think with a 19cc dish. So puts me right at 11-to-1 compression on this car, on this motor. The cam is a Comp Cams XFI 236. It's the smaller of the two big hydraulic roller cams that pretty much pick up where the Extreme Energy 282 series leaves off. Lifters are Morrill or / Howard's hydraulic roller retrofit lifters, link bar lifters. Custom 80,000 swall chromoly push rods, and all that's mounted to AFR 225cc cylinder heads. I don't know if you can tell too clearly there, but Cook's 1 7/8 primary long tube headers to a 3-inch collector. The intake, obviously it's a TFSR intake. What's interesting about the lower intake is I got it from a gentleman at a swap meet, but he had it air gapped, so they weld on a belly pan and grind in between the runners. I'm gonna see if I can zoom in here. Kind of hard to tell, but in between the runners it looks kind of like the Edelbrock 3887 intakes. So it lets all the hot air escape from between the runners. And the lower was ported to a 1262R gasket, which is what the 225s have as far as port size and port dimensions. Upper intake has a 90mm AccuFab throttle body, 4-inch tubing, factory Ford Lightning mass air meter. Mass air meter was the transfer function was calibrated into the tune, and so on and so forth. So this car does really, really well. Edelbrock series water pump. This alternator bracket right here is pretty trick. Speed Doctor racing components. Highly recommend them, guys. These low mount alternator brackets are just what the doctor ordered, no pun intended, but they mount your alternator low, obviously, so you can expose a little more of what you want to see, like the AFR logos and so on and so forth. So highly recommend them, guys. And he has them for 351s and 302s. Cooling system is a Griffin, a Dominator series radiator, part number 00165, I think. Radiator fans are factory Ford Contour fans with Siemens Bosch electric motors, and what's powering the fans is a speed controller from Delta Current Control, which progressively modulates the fans. It doesn't switch them on and off. It progressively speeds the fan rotors up and progressively slows them down as need be, as dictated by the temperature that you set on the module. So it's a pretty trick unit. It's the only unit I'll use. You can get them at, I think, dccontrol.com. Definitely take a look at them. Highly recommend them. The transmission is an early generation TKO, just like I have in my coupe. They ship the best, guys, and I have actually a video of a spare transmission that I got, and I go through it because it actually needed a lot of work. They usually don't need that much work, but if you subscribe, you'll be able to see the Tremec rebuild, see how to do that. But yeah, guys, trying to think of what else here. Transmission, the clutch is a center force dual friction clutch, and it grabs pretty smoothly. The centrifugal weights definitely help. You can tell when the RPMs climb, especially coming off idle. You can definitely tell it'll grab with a little bit of RPM change. And the rear end, stock style 8.8, Moser 31 spline, C-clip axles. The differential is an Explorer 31 spline that I fully rebuilt, with a 373 gear. All new bearings, all new seals, doesn't leak a drop of anything. And the rear suspension is UPR chromoly, upper and lower control arms, non-adjustable, just stock style replacements. And polyurethane bushings throughout, except for the spherical bushings in the 8.8 housing ears. When you guys are doing that, definitely get that Maximum Motorsports tool. It's a lifesaver, especially if you need to do it up under the car. But I had this 8.8 out when I did them, so it was a little easier. Fuel system. Fuel system is a stock tank. It's a brand new stock tank, and had the sump welded on. 10 AN feed, which wraps around to the Aeromotive 1000 pump on the front, matching filters. And then 8 AN line goes from the pump outlet all the way down the passenger side frame, all the way up the shock tower, passenger side. To the regulator, which is way down low, you can't see it, but yeah. So 8 AN feed and 6 AN return. I have the return line going down the same path as the feed, except it returns into a 6 AN 90 return drop tube that comes, you know, that's available for the Fox bodies where your stock pump hanger used to go. I just cap off the 10 AN feed and just use the 6 for the return, so it returns through the top. But yeah, guys, it's pretty much all I can think of. If you have any questions, give me a shout. But as I said earlier in another video, this car is going to undergo some surgery here. I'm going to pull the short block out of here. Well, the whole motor is going to come out. I'm going to reuse the heads, intake, injectors, all that stuff, but I'm building that 427 dart block and put everything back on, you know, the heads, intake, build that up and put it back in. But while this motor's out, we're going to tackle putting a 93 Cobra booster in with the matching master cylinder and the lines and whatnot. So so the short block will definitely be for sale. It's a good motor, man. I'm just a little biased to it just because, well, not only because it's mine, just like everybody else is pretty biased towards their own stuff, but you know, the rings, I think I forgot to mention, but I use total seal gapless rings on pretty much every motor I build. And the vacuum, you know, this cam isn't really meant to pull a ton of vacuum at idle to power the power brakes, but the total seal piston rings definitely help out. They're gapless top rings. They are pricey, but they're worth it. So but yeah, guys, so like I said, it's a 60 over 408, so it's a 414 cubic inch. So it's going to come out, and it'll end up being for sale, and I'll post a video. We'll go through it and show you more in depth when it you know, when the time comes. But thanks for watching.